Hey guys, Tracy here, Kansas Garden Guys, Summer Pick Farms. What is up this week? Well, it's the week after Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys had a lot of friends and family around with you last week to celebrate Thanksgiving. That's what Thanksgiving is all about, is to be thankful for friends and family and other things that are in your life that you are thankful for. But we're not here to talk about Thanksgiving. We're here to talk about a couple little small projects. About 2 or 3 videos ago, I had a video on washing salad greens. And a couple people commented on a couple things they saw in the background, and they were like, wait, I've never seen that before. What is that? One of them was the homemade DIY salad spinner that I made for less than $25. Yes, less than $25. This is a 5-gallon salad spinner. If you look at salad spinners on Amazon or Restaurant Supply House, they are hand cranked. And they are anywhere from $130 to $250 depending on what brand you buy. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of money for spinning salad. But if I need it, that's what I need. And then I talked to my wife. I was like, I could probably make one. And so this is the things I did to make my homemade salad spinner. I got on Amazon. Of course, everybody's got on Amazon. I bought a Gamma seal lid kit. What this consists of is a lid, a screw-on lid, and a snap-on ring that has rubber seals in both of these. And what they are for is for basically for prepping or holding seed. They make these 5-gallon buckets completely waterproof, humidity-proof, and airproof. So you can put beans, rice, seeds, anything you want in it. A lot of people use it to put corn, dog food, stuff like that. You could take this bucket, store it outside next to your chicken coop. Spin the lid off the top here. Take this off. This lid just spins on and off like this. If I can get it to spin. It spins on and off. And then you can put your feed in it and it keeps the water out of it, and then you can keep it near your stuff. So you need that in the ring. Put that down here. You need 2 5-gallon buckets. Preferably brand new buckets. I would not use or reuse buckets for this. These buckets are very cheap. I paid less than $5 a bucket here at our local Home Depot. By all means, you don't have to use Home Depot. That's where I was when I decided to do this project for you guys, so I bought these couple buckets. You just want to make sure they are HDPE approved on the bottom. My understanding is that is more of a food grade style bucket. So you could put seeds, rice, beans, stuff like that in. So you definitely would want to use a bucket like that. You wouldn't want to use one of these you've been painting your house or putting fertilizer in or anything like that. You can buy new buckets. So you need 2 of those. You're going to need a good quality drill. It can be electric or battery operated. I only use battery operated drills here on the farm because then I could tote them around to my different high tunnels and stuff and do work as I needed. Make sure your battery is fully charged though, because you're going to need to use it. A pop rivet gun and a series of pop rivets. The next thing you are going to need is a drill bit. I cannot tell you the size of the drill bit you need because your drill bit is going to determine what size pop rivet you use. Some pop rivets, I think this is 3/16 pop rivets, so there's a drill bit according to that. Some drill bits or some pop rivets are 1/4 inch. Some you can get any size pop rivet, so it's going to depend on what you want. I use pop rivets because they are made out of aluminum or stainless, so that means they're waterproof and they will not rust. I wouldn't want to use any type of steel ones. You could probably use a 2-part waterproof epoxy. I'm not sure if that's food grade. There may be a food grade epoxy. I don't use epoxies, so I'm kind of stupid on that, but there may be a food grade epoxy you can use instead of pop rivets if you do not have a pop rivet gun or a drill or anything like that. You're going to need, of course, the drill bit for your pop rivets. You're going to need some type of mechanism to make holes. I use a 1-inch hole saw, and then I use a 3/4 inch paddle bit. You can definitely just use a paddle bit. You can definitely just use the hole saw, or you could just use a 1/2-inch drill bit. And then last or not least, you're going to need a couple of these 5-inch or 6-inch bolts, depending on the size. You're going to need 3 or 4 fender washers and at least enough nuts to bottom that. What I always do is if I'm buying 1 bolt, I'll buy 2 washers and 2 nuts, because you always end up losing a nut on the ground somewhere and then you don't have one. And these things are literally 9 cents a piece. It makes sense to buy 2 or 3 spares. That way you're not having, like with me, I live 20 minutes from town. I don't have to come home, drop this out in the grass, and decide I have to drive 20 minutes to go get another 9-cent washer. It only makes sense. So, okay, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take one of these buckets here and you're going to want to take the handle off of it. You can do either whatever you want to do to take the handle off. You can pop the handle off. You can drill a hole here, pull the handle off. You just want to get the handle off. So I'm going to grab a pair of pliers and pull that handle off. The thing you're going to want to do is drill holes into it. I'm going to start with my paddle bit. Like I said, this is just a 1-inch paddle bit here. We are going to drill a series of holes into this bucket for drainage. You can do as many holes or as less holes as you want. I usually just do some holes, space it 4 or 5 inches. I'm not measuring this bucket. I'm just drilling holes into this bucket for drainage. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going, then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, here's what the bucket looks like after we get the holes drilled into it. As you can see, the hole saw fits into that. I just drilled a series of 4 holes every 3 or 4 inches all the way around the bucket. And then the bottom of the bucket, I used I used a 1/2-inch drill bit to just drill a series of holes in this bucket. And all this is doing, as you can see, it's just for drainage. This so that way the water comes out of here and the handle is now pulled off. So I'm going to set that aside and then we're going to work on the next bucket. So you are going to swap this out for your 1/2-inch drill bit, so that way this bolt will slide up through it. So let me get that going, then I'll show you what it looks like. You can see we've got the bolt in the bottom of this bucket with this fender washer. This is where the 5 or 6 inches of space comes into. As you can see in there, hopefully you can see in there, the bolt is now in the bottom of this bucket with the washer. And you're going to ask, well, what'd you do that for? If you guys have ever shoved 2 5-gallon buckets together to store in the barn or whatever, you know it literally takes an army to pull these buckets apart. The only force in the world that takes that much to get apart, I don't know the physics in it. It's because it's dispersing space and air and everything, and the suction and everything. So this bolt is going to keep your spinning basket spinning. So okay, now we've got our 2 pieces. So you've got one bucket that's got your bolt in it, and then you've got one bucket with the handle off of it and the series of holes. So as you can see, you want to put this spinning bucket into this bucket. You notice it now spins. And the reason this bucket spins is because that bolt is holding this bucket off the side of it, which is allowing it to spin. And you want to make sure you put your gamma lid on the bucket with the holes in it. If you put it on the bucket without the holes in it, you cannot get your bucket inside of it, and it will be a pain to get off. So what I have done is I took the seal out of the inside because I don't need this to be waterproof, so I could put this onto this bucket easily. I say easily, but it's got to snap on. So you can hear it snap. There you go. Now it is not going to come off. You can still pull this off if you had to, but it is on there. So now this goes in here. You can see this is spinning. So hence your gamma lid is going to screw onto this now. So this is going to be the whole unit that spins inside, and you can kind of get the gist of this already. This is going to spin. The water is going to centrifuge out like a barrel ride to the sides, and it's going to collect in this bucket. Then you're going to be able to dump the water out of this bucket. This is where the nuts and bolts come in place. So what we are going to do is we're going to drill a hole into the center of this gamma lid, and we are going to ride the bolt into this. And this is going to come out of the top of the lid, and then we're going to bolt it down, and then our drill is going to compress onto the shank of this bolt, and this is what's going to spin this. You get that hole drilled in the lid, and then I'll show you how to put the bolt in. You want to make sure that you find the drill bit that is the same size or a little bit bigger than your bolt. You don't want it to be too big because you don't want this to waddle in, or you want it to hold case. So I got my drill bit here, and you notice that I'm drilling here on my table here so I can show you. You've got a raised up area here, so you want to make sure that you use this side of it, and right when you go to puncture in, make sure you don't shove all the way through your table. This is plastic, so it's going to be fairly easy to drill into. So you just want to make sure it goes slow. You can hear it change, which means it's getting ready to punch through the bottom. Just like that. Got a clean, quality hole drilled into this bucket. This is where the epoxy comes into play. You can either use epoxy or you could weld it. I welded. I put a couple beads here on the bottom of this washer, and then I drilled a series of holes into it. This is on the bottom here, so it doesn't have to be. I'm going to have to wallow that hole out a little bit. I grabbed the wrong bit. There we go. So you got the hole. This is going to go into the bottom. I put a couple beads of weld on there because I do have a welder in the shop, so I could drop a couple beads here. You just want to be careful what bolts you use. Make sure if you're welding stainless, you use something for that, because stainless and galvanized puts off poisonous gas. So you want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area, or know a professional welder that can help you on that. I'm not here to talk about welding. You could use 2-part epoxy on this to probably hold this bolt to this washer. This is going to be important, a key part. So this is going to go on the inside like this, because you're going to have this bolt on the outside for your drill. What I have is 3 holes here. What these holes are for is for my pop rivets to go through like this. This is going to go through the bucket, through the next washer like this, and then you're going to pop rivet that, and that's going to sandwich everything together. What I do like to do also is I use these little washers for my pop rivets on the back side like this, and all that does is it gives a little more of a bite. That's what I use when I'm working on cars and stuff like that. So let me get the first one in here pop riveted, and then I will show you. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the bolt, we're going to run the bolt through here, and we are going to take a marker. If you notice, you still have to drill those 3 holes in here for those pop rivets to go through. So you do the first one like this, put it through, take a black pin, come to the bottom of this, put a little dot right there, and then we're going to drill those holes. Now you've got the holes drilled in there, so you want to put your bolt back in there, line it up, there you go. Same concept. And you notice everything is lined up in there. So now, if you've ever used a pop rivet gun, it will have a series of bits to fit your pop rivet. So you want to find which one. I always use the same one here on the farm, so I don't ever have to change my size here. The pop rivet just goes into, you want to take your shank, slide it into the bit, and as you compress it, it actually bulges this out on the opposite side there. So let me get the first one in, and then I will show you guys what it looks like when it's done. I know you almost need like 4 arms to do this, but once you get the first one, there you go. Now we've got our bolt pop riveted, 3 spots coming out the top of the lid here. As you can see, it is very tight. If you wanted to, this is where the nuts come in. Like I said, I welded mine down here. By all means, do you not have to use pop rivets? You could use little bolts, little stainless bolts, and then tighten those up. If you don't, I just thought of that. If you don't have a pop rivet gun, there's no need to go buy one. You could just go get bolts while you're at the hardware store, and you can run those bolts. You can tighten those nuts up. So now, that is pop riveted in 3 spots in this lid here. As you can see, it's on there now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my nut and I'm going to run it down. And I don't think it's going to need it. This is just me being extra cautious here. I'm just going to run this nut all the way down to the bottom. And I'm just going to snug this up along the bottom of this lid here. And all that's going to do is just sandwich everything together nice and tight. So the key behind this is you can spin this lid off. That's why you want to take the O-rings off, because this drill is going to tighten this lid up. And with this seal, it gets really tight and it's hard to get off. So if you take the seal off, the O-ring from the inside here, it actually makes this a little easier to get off. So like I said, you've got the bucket with the bolt. You've got the bucket that you made with the holes. I recommend packing it to the top. What I usually do is I pack it to about almost the bottom of this first set of holes here. And if you notice, I made the holes below this bucket, because if you don't and the holes are above, water is going to come out of here and it's going to get you soaking wet. Then you're going to tighten the lid. Everything's just hand tight, just like that. You're going to take your drill. What I'm going to do later that I did not mention is, if you notice, this is still a threaded bolt. Your drill has a chuck in it. I noticed the first time I made this, I didn't do it, and the drill would spin onto the bolt. So what I'm going to have to do is, I'm going to have to go through with a die grinder or a file, and I'm going to have to put a flat edge on one of this surface here, so my drill has something to bite with. Let me do. I went outside to the shop. I grabbed a 6-inch angle grinder, and if you notice, if you can see there, all I did was I smoothed about 1.5 inches, or you could do it all the way, if whatever you want to do that you're comfortable with. The drill's only going to chuck this a flat spot here, and what that's for is when the drill's teeth chucks, it has a spot on it to hold on to so it does not spin on these threads. And I know I'm using specific tools here like drills and hole saws and rivet guns and angle grinders. By all means, I don't want you guys going out and buying all these things. Most people already that have a farm or anything like that already have these tools hanging on the wall for other purposes, working on vehicles, working on farm equipment, hence stuff like that, which I do. So that's what I have handy. If you do not have that kind of stuff handy, you can go to a machine shop in town and they will do all this work for you. You have to pay for it, but they will do all this work for you. But anyway, go ahead and spin this lid on top of this bucket. Now you have this system ready to go. So now you take your drill. I like using an older drill here because it's not as sensitive. The new ones have a torque sensor built into it that I noticed. That when this drill is 2 weeks old, and I bought it for this specific reason because this battery was getting ready to go out. And plus, you can never have too many drills on the farm. This thing has a torque sensor in it. When it senses an amount of torque, it shuts the drill off. Well, that doesn't work for this situation. So, I went back to my old drill. I just got a new battery for it, which I probably should have done to begin with. You've got the bucket with your bolt in it. You've got the bucket that you've cut the holes in it. You've got your gamma lid screwed onto this bucket here. What you can do is you can hold it with your feet. I usually have a table that this sits on, but for viewing purposes, this is easier. You hold this bottom bucket and you spin the drill. If you notice, when you do this, my drill is so powerful that when I shut the drill off, it automatically unwinds the top, so it makes it kind of handy. But maybe this, you can see this. You can see this bucket spinning. And what that does is it's like a centrifuge, like one of those barrel rides at the carnival. It pushes all the water to the outside, and the water collects in the bottom of this bucket, and then you take this bucket and you can dump the water out. This is as good as any of those 5-gallon hand crank salad spinners you're going to buy for 10 times the money. Like I said, most of those that I saw were $150 to $300 depending on the person that was making it. I made this for less than $25. And now I have 2 of them now because I'm just making one here to show you this, and I've got one already made. So now I can have 2 people spinning salad at the same time. Make one for 25 bucks. I have not seen anything on YouTube that is this right now. $25, guys, and it's a salad spinner. You can't beat that. But anyway, guys, next week's video, I'll show a couple other things also. Hopefully this was helpful for you market farmers or just somebody looking to get an advantage up on their farm for not so expensive of a price. But anyway, guys, I'll talk to you next week. Guys, make sure you're safe, be kind to one another, and God bless.